What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Do you feel that right now? It's starting to feel kind of like E3, and a lot of it has to do with things leaking out and announcements happening. In fact, this week will actually seem to have some announcements. Of course, we have the Pokemon Direct coming up on Wednesday, which will be streaming here. That's 9 a.m. Eastern time, so you can stop by and hang out in the stream for that. Should be pretty interesting, about 15 minutes, which is similar, I guess, to the Mario Maker 2 thing where we had about 15 minutes of that. And then we can expect a few other things this week, so it's exciting stuff. We also managed to hit 300,000 subscribers over the weekend, so thanks to everyone who subscribed to the channel. It's very exciting. And of course, if you're new here and you like getting all of the latest gaming news every weekday morning at this time, 8 a.m. Eastern time, you can subscribe and keep up to date with everything. And we have quite a few things to go over, including GameStop actually leaking out several SKUs for the Switch and the PlayStation 4, and a little for the Xbox One, but for the Switch and the PS4, definitely. We're gonna go over that and what you can expect there, and maybe we could pick a few of them out even. And then it looks like Earthbound 64 actually had some unreleased footage surface online that we could take a look at as well. As always, guys, enjoy these videos, make sure you hit the like button, it does help out. We're actually going to start today with Tesla. Yeah, I know, weird, right? We're gonna start with Tesla because you can now play Cuphead. Well, soon. You can play Cuphead soon on your Tesla Model S or Model X. Yeah, apparently Studio MDHR and Tesla work together, and they are porting Cuphead, which runs on Unity, which is an engine that they were getting ported over to Tesla, and you can actually play it then when it's all done on your Tesla, which is weird, right? To think about that. It gives a whole new meaning to road rage, obviously, but according to them, you won't be able to use the touchscreen. You'll be plugging in a USB wired controller, and you would of course be playing it in parked mode, which is interesting considering, I guess, Teslas can drive themselves around, so you figure you could, get some gaming in then, but no, you'd be able to play these, of course, when it's parked and you're not moving. Either way, interesting stuff, and it makes you wonder what other games could they bring over to, well, your car. We've also talked in the past about emulators for current systems, right? Like we talked about the Switch emulator that seems to be making the rounds, but what about something like a PlayStation 4 emulator? It's weird to think about that, but it's actually something that's being worked on right now. This is called Orbital, and they actually posted a video showing it working in safe mode, which of course you got to start somewhere. So sure, I guess safe mode doesn't have like graphics or anything flying all over the place, any of that, but it does at this time sync up to a DualShock controller and everything, and they're kind of working through it. Seems to be just a project they're doing, but it does show that the PlayStation 4 could actually be emulated like someday, not super far off like we usually expect for these type of things. I mean, the Switch is already being emulated. We've seen the Wii U and the PlayStation 4. I mean, why not? There are some PlayStation 4 only games that people might really enjoy being able to max out on their PC. Oh, and I don't really want to get anyone's hopes up too much, but there's a chance that we may actually have seen an E3 announcement kind of revealed to us from Square. And I say I don't want to get anyone's hopes up because this could always just be something that's still being worked on in the future. But you remember that Secret of Mana collection that we talk about here all the time? I'd love to see them localize it because it has some awesome games on there. And of course, Secret of Mana 2 or Seiken Densetsu 3 has yet to be localized officially outside of Japan. So it's an exciting thing to think about that, actually making some history there. Well, another Trademarks popped up. This actually was filed May 31st in Europe, as you're seeing here, and is for Collection of Mana. I wonder what that could be. Why would Square need to trademark Collection of Mana? Maybe because they could be localizing this thing outside of Japan, and that is one of their smaller E3 announcements. I say smaller because it's not a brand new game, but it's still something new to a lot of us in the West and everything outside of Japan. That is a very exciting idea, and I really hope this is something they have lined up, and that's why these trademarks are happening. Either way, it's something to think about as we go into E3 next week, especially with Square taking Sony's spot. So I think they're gonna at least bring a pretty good show. And guys, some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're gonna start today with these mystery Switch SKUs or stock keeping units that GameStop has now listed internal for their system. So it's not like on their website or anything. If you're an employee at GameStop, you should actually be able to check these because that's where these seem to have come from. They've listed 21 SKUs, again, stock keeping units leading up to E3. E3. This isn't the first time we've seen this. We've seen this a couple times, actually, different E3s or even events leading up to an unannounced direct. Sometimes this would actually signal a direct coming up, as GameStop, of course, would be getting information in so that they can get ready to make sales, pre-orders, like the day this happens, right? So we already know some things are going to be announced with the release dates, possibly special editions. But as you're seeing here, this is actually posted up on Twitter by Sabi, and they had several screenshots of this stuff. I mean, they had a massive list that appeared to have been printed at their local GameStop. If you work at a GameStop, you know, if you can post anonymously, let me know if this is something you see in your system as well, because there are several different items here. $60 items, those make sense, but then you see some interesting ones. $50 items, right? $40 items, a $90 one, and then even a $200 SKU. Now, these all appear to be games, so I don't think that $200 SKU is a system like a Switch Mini. I actually think that might be a very large special edition, possibly one for something like Fire Emblem, just as an example, or maybe a Link's Awakening. Maybe it's a special edition for Pokemon that comes with both of them and then some extra stuff. There's a lot of ideas of what that could be, but to see this many SKUs pop up is exciting, but to be honest, it's not really unexpected, because while there's going to be a direct and there's going to be a lot of games shown there are going to be a lot of games also announced from third parties away from Nintendo's direct, right? So to hear about this, I don't think is that surprising leading into E3, because there will be a lot of games to pick from. And keep in mind, these would be all physical games that were released in the store. This isn't even talking about games that would just be digital. So like Cadence of Hyrule, for example, could Shadow Drop, that wouldn't be included here, right? Because that would be, we assume, an eShop only game. Maybe Limited Run Games eventually picks that up, because that would be a big time seller, but that of course has Nintendo's properties tied to it, and they might want to be the ones to actually go out and publish that and everything, if it does well on the eShop, or maybe they already have it planned. That'd be cool too. Now, apart from that, there were also several SKUs that were listed for the PlayStation 4, again, posted by Sabi, and there are quite a few. Like, you can actually see 20 PlayStation 4 games listed, a few Microsoft ones, but it seems to be a lot of PlayStation 4 games as well. So for anyone out there saying E3 is kind of boring right now, I don't think much is going to happen, it looks like there's going to be quite a few things announced here that GameStop can't quite tell us about, and they're making room in their system. So a lot of third-party support, most likely ones even for the Switch that you might not expect. We heard about that Witcher 3 it sounds crazy, but it would be pretty impressive to see that pop up, and it would be pretty interesting to see it as a cartridge based on how large that game is on the other platforms. So interesting stuff here. There are so many to pick from, so let me know what you guys think about these, and what do you think any of these games could be? Do you think Nintendo has a few, like that rumored Pikmin 3, that could also be a physical release? That could be that $40 release, for example, right? Although, I mean, I guess Nintendo likes their $60 Wii U ports, so maybe that's one of the $60 ones. That $40 one could also maybe be Darksiders Genesis if it's like a spin-off. A lot of possibilities here, guys, so let me know down below. Next up, let's talk about a story that does not give us a lot of confidence in a digital-only future. So, of course, right now, you still have the option to buy a game digitally on the storefront for an eShop or a PlayStation Network or the Microsoft Store. Or you can go to a store, an actual store, and buy the game physically and have it in your collection. Well, interestingly enough, we've seen some games get delisted. We talked about Drive Club, for example, right? Although you can still download Drive Club, but recently, with the issues we've seen around Telltale, there were some questions about their games on the shops and if they would stay up, because it looks like Minecraft Story Mode will actually not be staying up. This is a weird situation. So of course we know Telltale does their Minecraft story series and everything, where they actually have the Minecraft characters run through like a whole Telltale-like story. Here's the thing though, they put out an official statement, as you're seeing here, and their story mode is actually being delisted later this month. That's June 25th. And both seasons will actually be disappearing completely from online retailers. What's weird about this is they reinforce the idea of downloading your copy ahead of that date, which is making us believe right now that when it's gone, you won't even be able to re-download it, which is crazy to think about that. Now, of course, demos have done that with PT. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, I believe you can still download if you at least had it, but there are a lot of instances of digital games disappearing, never to be seen again, and it does make you wonder if you should have bought the physical copy if it was available. It's worse if the physical copy isn't available, but at least Minecraft Story Mode was, so you could still, I guess, see it pop up in stores here and there, but still, it's an odd situation that they wouldn't let you download it. So we'll find out after June 25th, but if you like the game, if you maybe deleted it for space at one point in time, you might want to go re-download it now. Otherwise, you might not be able to later. Next up, let's talk about some newly surfaced footage for Earthbound 64. Of course, Earthbound 64 was supposed to be Mother 3 in Japan. They seem to have scrapped that due to what they said were technical issues, or basically their inability to get this thing done and working well enough on the 64 in time for the generation to not end before they get it out there. Anyway, they ended up, of course, scrapping it, and they got Mother 3 on the Game Boy Advance, a game that still has not left that country, and Nintendo just leaves it there, and unfortunately there are issues in the game that they don't seem to want to touch. But Earthbound 64 is still one of those things of legend, something I would love to see a beta version leak online for. I don't know if it'll ever happen because, to be honest, I don't know if it actually exists. But new footage has actually leaked online, well, surfaced, not really leaked, but surfaced online. And it's actually on YouTube, and what's interesting about this is from Space World 1996, and you can see some of it here. It's not very long, it's like 20 seconds or so of footage, but it shows stuff that I had never seen before, and I've looked through a lot of the Earthbound 64 stuff for videos we've done in the past, and it shows possibly why they weren't going to be able to do it. They tried to have a lot of characters on screen. Of course, the look of it was a little off-putting because it was Nintendo 64, so it probably wouldn't have looked great looking back on it now. Like, Mother 3 on the Game Boy Advance has aged way better than Earthbound 64, the way it looked, but it's still interesting to see this. It seemed like the frame rate was kind of bad, but it was 64. The frame rate was just bad in general back then. Really bad at times. Go play GoldenEye, set some mines, and watch the slideshows happen, but still, this is an interesting situation to see more of it pop up, way late, right? Like, it's 2019, this is from 1996, so quite a while ago, but still, it's interesting to see that it was at least playable to the point where they were showing it off at Space World 1996, and I wish there was some playable build that leaked online. Hey, at this point, you never know. Footage that none of us really thought existed shows up online randomly one day, so maybe someday, somewhere, a playable build will show up. And our last bit of news, the Mortal Kombat DLC, or I guess the fighter pack that they have announced, looks awesome. Because Spawn is it. I'm in it. No, it's Spawn, of course, Todd McFarlane's character and everything. It's really, really cool to hear about that. We kind of heard about that a while ago because he basically told us in a Reddit AMA, and everyone was like, oh, Spawn's gonna be in Mortal Kombat. But nothing really happened, so people kind of brushed it aside and said, maybe not. And then there was a data mine later on that showed Spawn, and here we are now finally where they just kind of nonchalantly just kind of announced it. Like, it was like a logo that popped up. It was like, hey, Spawn's in here. Like that's a pretty big deal, I think. It's awesome to see that, considering Soul Calibur 2, I remember playing a Spawn in a fighter, and now here we are in 2019 with Spawn in Mortal Kombat, where he can just be vicious. So that's gonna be really cool. Several other characters. Here's actually part of the trailer that they showed. Several other characters announced as well. Shang Tsung will actually be available in early access on the 18th of June, so look forward to that. Nightwolf, Sindel are also announced, and then 2 other fighters. Now, it sounded like towards the end of the trailer, there was a chainsaw that was going off, which does make us think about Ash from Evil Dead. Again, part of that data mine. That data mine also had Joker in there, by the way, and Terminator, so Terminator would fit in there pretty well. That'd be cool. RoboCop, can we get RoboCop? But Terminator wouldn't shock me, I'll say that. But to see Spawn in here, I just want to see his moveset. His fatalities could be really cool. A lot of exciting stuff there. They definitely, I think, convinced some people that they should be looking at this fighter pass going forward, because if they're going to add those kind of characters in, it's going to get pretty exciting and pretty zany and off the wall. I mean, we've had Predator and Alien and Jason Voorhees and stuff in there, so it's not like they take it too seriously, but I'm ready to see the other 2 characters at this point too. And we'll finish up with our comment of the day from Friday, as you're seeing here. This one comes to us from Mega, saying, I love the fact that Call of Duty is controversial again. It feels like we're back in 2009. I love this. So what's interesting about this Call of Duty, massively different response from the internet, right? Go back to Infinite Warfare, look at that trailer. People were not happy with Infinity Ward with that game, right? It didn't go over well. Tons of dislikes on the trailer and everything came out. Didn't do great compared to other Call of Duties. I mean, okay, compared to video games in general, yes, it did fine. But compared to other Call of Duties, it fell behind a bit from what I remember, but massively different when it comes to this. I mean, look at the likes to dislike on this trailer is so much better. I mean, it had over 22 million views in what, the first day or two, pretty quickly, hit trending very quickly, rose to the top there. 409,000 likes, only to 14,000 dislikes. So the community for Call of Duty, the internet, everyone seems really happy with the direction Infinity Ward has gone here. New engine, more realistic take on some things. And then of course, there are more shocking headline lean-ins there where they're really gonna be trying to show things more realistic and what's actually happening, I guess, the best that they can tell it in a video game. So I'm looking forward to this. This is probably the most excited I've been for a Call of Duty game in a long time. And it's pretty cool to see it being Infinity Ward behind this. So I'm ready. It's weird to think about that, but yes, I'm ready for this fall to where we can play some Call of Duty again. Hopefully it feels more like old school Modern Warfare Call of Duty. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. Enjoyed this video, guys. Hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about, whether it's those 21 Switch SKUs, or maybe you want to talk about the PlayStation 4 SKUs. What do you think about that? Because I think while Sony won't be there, third parties will still announce some games, I think, for the PlayStation. So that's pretty interesting to think about there as well. Also, let me know what you think about that Earthbound 64 footage. Do you think we could ever actually get a playable build? And then, are you sold now on the Fighter's Pass for Mortal Kombat 11 after seeing Spawn and some of the other characters there, and then 2 more coming, and you know at least one of them is going to be another guest character? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.